Thank you very much. So as we inch toward Election Day, today could go down as a big moment in the campaign. While President Barack Obama is in San Francisco, he's attending 3 fundraisers. His Republican challenger, Mitt Romney, is getting ready to unveil his vision for foreign policy in a speech in Lexington, Virginia. Here's a portion of his speech. It goes like this. They sent us excerpts earlier. General Marshall once said, he is going to say, the only way human beings can win a war is to prevent it. Those words were true in his time, and they still echo in ours. Want to get right to Tara Wall. She's the senior communications advisor for the Romney campaign. Hi, Tara. Nice to see you. Thanks for talking with us.
Hi, Soledad. Good morning. Absolutely.
So we know, having read some of these excerpts that have been sent out by the campaign, that Governor Romney is going to focus on Israel. He's going to focus on the Palestinian territories. And, of course, no big surprise, he's going to focus on Iran. Why don't you spell out for me exactly what Governor Romney's position is when it comes to Iran?
Well, listen, Governor Romney is going to clearly spell out the choice that there is this election, particularly when it comes to foreign policy and all of the unrest that is happening in the Middle East right now and how we have to address that. And that is working with our allies. That is calling terrorism when we see it. That is acting boldly and strongly with leadership, and that's what I think Americans want to see. That's what they want to hear. I think we'll have an opportunity to see that in the speech. I don't want to give up the whole speech or give out the whole speech, obviously. I think that Americans will have the opportunity to hear that and to see that. But I think certainly we need a leader who is going to be strong, who is going to work with our allies, who is going to ensure that we make sure that peace is actually happening with clear direction and not with confusion, as we saw, for example, in Libya.
So you're right. We don't want to give away the whole speech, and I couldn't deliver it as well as he probably could. But I want to read some of the excerpts that the campaign has given to us. So let's put the one where he's specifically talking about Iran. Let's put that up on the screen, and I'll read it. He says this: I will put the leaders of Iran on notice that the United States and our friends and allies will prevent them from acquiring nuclear weapons capability. I will not hesitate to impose new sanctions on Iran. So, you know, there are people who have said that that position, and the one spelled out even in more depth in some of these excerpts, is exactly the same as President Obama's position, isn't it?
Well, I think the difference is, again, to use the example of Syria as the most recent example, we want a leader who is going to respond forcefully, be emphatic. I mean, it's 3 weeks and we just had FBI agents get on the ground there. I think the expectation is that you come out and you call terrorism terrorism. You go after vigorously. You go after those terrorists. There's a distinct difference in essentially leading from behind or being apologetic or passive about a foreign policy, and one who is strong and decisive.
But I'm talking about Iran, and I'm talking
understands.
about.
I understand, but I'm using the example of.
I hear you,
sure. I'm using the example of Syria because, again, we want to give Americans the opportunity to hear directly from Governor Romney when he gives a speech today.
And it looks like in the excerpts that have been
distinct difference overall.
In the excerpts that have been sent, yes, he absolutely covers Libya and Egypt and Syria and Afghanistan. So yes, there's a range. But let's talk about Iran for a moment. And when you actually analyze the candidates' positions, if you look at Governor Romney's position on Iran and that red line that, as you remember, Benjamin Netanyahu was drawing in his speech, and President Obama's position, they're very similar. Aren't they identical, really?
Well, Soledad, I'm not going to get into the back and forth on foreign policy. I'm not a foreign policy expert. And again, I think Americans need to understand there is a clear and distinct choice between these candidates relative to their approaches to foreign policy and how we lead, how we have led, how this president has led, how this president failed to lead it in a large degree.
But if their positions are similar, if their positions are similar, Tara, then there's not a big difference between the two candidates.
You can find, listen, Soledad, I'm sure you can find similarities in a number of positions with leaders on a number of different issues. The point being is there is a clear and distinct difference relative to how we lead when we deal with terrorists and when we're dealing with helping those who want to be free and democratic societies across across the Middle East. I think there are those clear differences that have been spelled out, that we do spell out in the approach that this governor takes and it plans to take relative to cracking down on terrorists and enemies and those who are out to harm us and out to harm our allies.
So let's take a look at peace in the Middle East and the obviously dispute between Israel and the Palestinian territories. So here's what we know he is going to say in his speech this later today. He's going to say, "Finally, I will recommit America to the goal of a democratic, prosperous Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with the Jewish state of Israel." And as you well know, this is very contradictory to what we know he was saying in that tape that was leaked, the 47% tape that they talk about. So let me play you a little bit of what he said about this very issue, right? The peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Listen.
I'm torn by two perspectives in this regard. One is the one which I've had for some time, which is that the Palestinians have no interest whatsoever in establishing peace, and that the pathway to peace is almost unthinkable to accomplish.
And I'm going to play another chunk of it a little bit later on in that same speech, the one that was recorded surreptitiously. Let's play that.
And I look at the Palestinians not wanting to see peace anyway, for political purposes, committed to the destruction and elimination of Israel, and these thorny issues, and I say there's just no way. And so what you do is you say you move things along the best way you can, you hope for some degree of stability, but you recognize this is going to remain an unsolved problem.
Okay, so as you know, and you just heard, that's completely contradictory to what I read you the first time around. I will recommit America to the goal of a democratic, prosperous Palestinian state, living side by side in peace and security with the Jewish state of Israel. Those are completely contradictory. Which one is true?
The fact is, it's the president who's failed in the negotiation process. He's the leader right now of this country, and he has failed
that was
meet
an
with
excellent
leaders
shift,
of Israel.
Answer for me about Governor Romney. We can talk about the president.
That is my answer. No, that is my answer, Soledad. I mean, the answer is
about the President
we
Obama?
have a leader who
Governor Romney is the answer about President Obama?
Listen, I think the governor has made his position clear relative to where we stand with Israel, and the president is the one that has failed, that has decided to meet with entertainment folks and people like that rather than Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think that there's a clear position here relative to these two.
It's not clear. My point, Tara.
Well,
hold on. My point is, it's completely contradictory. So my question is, which is it? And
your
answer
viewpoint.
to me. No, well, okay. Then tell me how it's not completely contradictory in your viewpoint. But don't talk to me about President Obama at this moment. Answer the question about Governor Romney.
We will stand side by side with. We will stand side by side with Israel, and the governor has made that clear. I'm not going to get into a big foreign policy debate with you here. You know, that's not the position. That's not my position. That's not my role. And that's, you know, if you want to talk about that, I suggest you put on a couple of foreign affairs experts and let them go at it and pick this apart the way that you'd like to have it picked apart. But I think we clearly stated what our position is.
I'm just asking you about a contradictory message. That's unfair. I'm only asking you about a contradictory message.
That's contradictory in your view. That's contradictory in your view.
Or you could explain it then. All right. Tara Wall, thank you for talking with us this morning.
Not if I don't agree with the premise.
Or you could explain that even, I would take. But apparently we're not going to get to that either. Thank you for talking with us this morning. We appreciate it. Still ahead this morning, going to be talking to Obama supporter, Ohio Congressman Tim Brien. He will be our guest this morning as well. And we're going to be talking to former Ambassador Williamson will be joining us to talk about those very detailed foreign policy issues as well, as Tara was suggesting. So we'll take her up on that suggestion.